So, John, I want to get your perspective on the topic. Do you think Nigeria needs more religion or less religion?
I think Nigeria needs more religion. There's a vacuum religion presently fills in Nigeria. And I think we'll be having a different conversation if we say that is religion meeting its expectations. I think that's another conversation entirely. But if you remove religion from present Nigeria, I think a lot of things will go wrong.
But one could also make the case that a lot of the problems we have in Nigeria are as a result of our extreme religiosity.
Yeah, extreme, you say. So if we are making a case for the fact that it's extreme, it is not because religion in itself is whether good or bad. It is because there's something we are taking too far. So everything, there's tendency to overstretch everything. Talk of science. It's possible to use science for a very bad thing. It's possible to use entertainment for a very bad thing. Entertainment can be good, it can be bad. So if there are issues that need to be addressed, which I quite agree. There are a lot of issues that need to be addressed about religion. Those are the issues we should address. To scrap religion altogether in Nigeria, I think it still fills a very large vacuum. If we remove it, it's going to be very devastating.
The point is, how do you then moderate religion in such a way that it could be used in a moderate way? Especially in the context of the fact that we live in a society that upholds the rights to freedom of conviction and religion. If you live in such a society that believes that, then if you think about the fact that there are people that go to church on a Monday morning praying to God to help them, to them, there's really nothing you can do about that. You can't do anything about that.
All right.
They are exercising their rights to freedom of conviction and religion.
I feel all religion in the world, whether Muslim, whether Christianity, interrogate itself. They're always opposing sides. This side believe this side believe that. Okay. And I think it is in the interest of each religion to really interrogate each other. If there's a side that is believing this and a side is believing this, maybe it's a good thing that each side interrogate each other and, if possible, come to a conclusion. However, most of the times, we have to resort to something outside of religion to interrogate religion sometimes. Because sometimes when you're invested in something, you do not see the flaws in it. Sometimes it takes something outside of what you do, what you daily do, to help you to see certain flaws in certain things. So the point is, if of course religion will always bring dogmatism, you will be dogmatic about it because it's religion, and in that case there's no way we can depend on religion in itself to rectify all of the maybe vices in it. We have to resort to some other things.
I actually share your perspective on that. We need a healthy dose of skepticism, to check the excesses of religion. I personally believe that. However, do you think the Nigerian society allows for skepticism?
I don't think any religious society, any religious community would not allow for skepticism. It's not likely. It's really not likely, except that society are not religious. As long as you are religious, some things is not easily put together. So if you're a religious person, it will be difficult for you to be a skeptist. If you're a skeptist, it will be difficult for you to be a religion. But the point is, whether we like it or not, the two can learn from each other. There's every high tendency that religious people, religious leaders sometimes can do certain things or manipulate people to do certain things. And in such situation, maybe for fear or for one reason or the other, those within the religion may not be able to see what their leaders are doing wrong or what they themselves are doing wrong. A skeptic in that situation can come in and point out those flaws. The same way a skeptic too, if you just doubt everything, you won't find meaning to life. And somehow, whether we like it or not, religion helps us to give meaning to life. So I think both sides can work with each other.
Yeah, so back to your earlier comment that you think Nigeria needs more religion. Now, let us look at this in the context of growth and development, in the context of leadership and politics as well. Would you agree that Nigerians outsource their civic responsibilities and duties to God?
Certainly, yeah, certainly.
So
Sadly so, actually.
Now, if we do that, don't you think the proper thing to do is to de-emphasize religion, so Nigerians could, quote and unquote, wake up to their civic responsibilities and duties in order to rescue this country, in order to take our destiny into our hands.
Okay, let me say first that I believe that religion as we practice it in Nigeria cannot give us development. Certainly cannot. Just merely depending on God for development to happen, for God to choose a leader for you, cannot give us development. But the truth is that religion in itself, if you leave religion to itself, it will continue like that. You have to be a little bit of a skeptic for that, for such mindset, for such belief, widely held belief to live. So if you say we should leave it up to religion, or religion should interrogate itself and come up with, I don't think it's going to work. In the era of science, for instance, the medieval period, for instance, it took the interrogation between religion, science, and philosophy for what we call Renaissance to come. So something else to interrogate religion. Religion in itself would always advance the argument that we have to depend on God for everything. Even sometimes we don't have to work. We need a little bit of skepticism to make a balance.
Let me bring another dimension to this. Religion is supposed to be the custodian of morals, right? If you look at the Nigerian context, Nigeria is an extremely corrupt country, number one. Number two, Nigeria is an immoral country as well. So just based off of that, wouldn't you say that religion has failed Nigeria? And so even the argument that we need more religion in and of itself is
let me quickly clarify.
It's not an argument to make.
Let me quickly clarify. When I say we need more religion, I'm saying that we need to revamp the present order of religion. I'm saying that if you remove religion from the present situation of Nigeria, so going by what Kama said, if religion is the opium of the masses, what is the population of the masses we have in Nigeria? And you take that religion away from them, you can imagine what is left.
Yeah, but again, one could argue that the reason why they are poor in the first place is probably because of religion.
I'm ready to contend that
on a typical Monday morning, you find churches hosting some deliverance services.
Out of place. That's totally, I don't know. That's totally. I personally believe that some churches spend too much time in services. Yeah, but despite the fact that there's moral decadence, and of course it's creeping into the church, the little sanctity we have left is still a product of religion.
Honestly, I can't see that sanctity, to be honest. I can't see it anymore.
Yeah, if you are looking at it,
because the people that steal our money, whether in the civil service or in governance or even in the private sector, all these people either go to church or they go to mosque, right? So my point is, where is that sanctity? I just can't see it.
Would you rather have a... Okay, let's not go that route. Let's not go that route. But I don't know if from where I stand, if you remove religion from what we have in Nigeria, what would have left is entertainment. What would have left is politics. At least maybe those are the three biggest. Look at the structure or the embodiment of politics in Nigeria. I do not see anything that is humane in it. If you look at the structure of entertainment, the core of entertainment is practically sexuality, radicalism, violence, and all of that.
Sensual.
Exactly. So if at the end of the day, we may not be doing things right. I mean, the religion may not be doing things exactly right, but the place you still go to, where you can still find a little bit of sanctity, it may not be the way it's supposed to be, but the institution you still go to, where you can still have a little bit of sanctity, is still religion.
I actually share a perspective on that. So there's this thing called the substitution hypothesis. It argues that if you remove religion from society, something else will substitute that, something is going to fill that gap. And of course, we all know the danger religion has done to Nigeria. We all know that. What we don't know is whatever is going to fill religion up might actually be worse than religion itself.
I need to say too that these institutions are not necessarily dependent of each other. They are intertwined in that if something happens to religion today, it affects entertainment, it affects politics. If something happens to politics, it affects religion, it affects entertainment. If something happens to entertainment, at least in Nigeria we're in now, it affects religion, it can even affect politics. So they are intertwined. So at the end of the day, are you going to look at the nature of Nigerian politics? And I think the same argument holds. If you look at the nature of Nigerian politics, there's nothing worthy about it. And if I get your perspective, the same way you argue that religion as it stands now is not worthy. So it now goes back to the fact that should we scrap politics because it's not worthy?
Yeah, that's a good point. I would argue that religion has more utilitarian value vis-a-vis politics. Honestly, Nigeria is a dystopian society to live in. But for some strange reason, we are still able to keep our sanity. For some strange reason, and I would acknowledge religion plays a very large role in that regard. Normally, we don't really have a high rate of suicide in Nigeria, and yet things are extremely hard for the everyday Nigerian. So how are we able to sort of manage our mental health, and all that? I would say a huge part of that is because of religion. So religion has an utilitarian value from that perspective, but politics has nothing to offer the everyday Nigerian, So I actually agree with you on that perspective. But then I also acknowledge the fact that religion has done so much harm to this country. It has done so much harm, and I just don't know how to interrogate the fact that religion has utility.
When we say that, there's another perspective I like to come from. Religion has mix.
Okay.
Of course, religion is affected by things happening around it.
Yeah.
Religion mixed with politics is dangerous.
Yeah.
Religions mixed with entertainment can be dangerous.
Yeah.
Religion mixed with politics, entertainment can be more deadly. Religion on its own, without the mix of anything, can be dangerous and can be good. But the truth is, it's not possible to have religion alone. There are other institutions that would always affect and interrogate religion. So I think as it stands in Nigeria, there are other institutions that religion is a very strong institution, but I think there are other institutions that seem to be becoming stronger than religion. For instance, entertainment.
Of course.
And in many ways, entertainment is presently affecting religion. Not affecting, maybe that's not the right word, influencing religion in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So when you talk about decadence, when you talk about politics, now we must add politics too.
Yeah.
When you talk about decadence, when you talk about some other things, vices that is coming out of religion now, they are either as a result of the mix of religion and politics, or religion and the nature of entertainments we presently have.
Interesting. So I would say in that regard, religion has not really held up to its role as a custodian of morals. Maybe it once held, maybe in the 70s, in the 80s, maybe to an extent in the 90s, but since the turn of the millennium, religion has been in bed with entertainment, and it hasn't really spoken truth to power, in politics, and it hasn't really upheld its role as a custodian of morals.
If we can look at this from the nature of evolution, like nothing, there's always change. Changes always happen. Then we understand that historically, morality, not even morality, when everything gets to its extreme, there's always a change. So if there was a time that there was high morals in Nigeria, high moral, and you don't have to be a religious person really to be morally upright. Then there was high moral, but then I feel, I may be wrong, but I feel that sense of morality got to its extreme. For instance, there was a time that in Nigerian church, if a child becomes pregnant out of wedlock, such child may be abandoned by the parents. I think that's the extreme of morality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because of the extreme, yeah, I feel a generation came, maybe the millennial generation came and felt they needed to fix the extreme. And in an attempt to fix the extreme, we have started having another extreme.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe
it's more or less fighting extremism with extremism.
maybe this
You
is
know?
an evolutionary state. We would evolve. As we're evolving, we'll evolve. We'll pass through this stage and then we'll get to another stage. And
I don't think so. Because if you look at the history of humanity generally, we've never really had a balanced middle. At any point in time in human history, could we say we've had
but I think
something approximating moderacy? We've always swung from one extreme to another extreme.
True. But we don't get from one extreme to another extreme in one day. There's always a blend.
There's always that transitioning period.
Yeah, there's a transitioning period, and those that live in that transitioning period, they usually have it more seen, kind of. So as we are transitioning from one extreme to another extreme, there's a period of it that there's a balance, and then the extreme we cross to the other side of the extreme. So
that makes sense. So what stage do you think Nigeria is right now? Are we past that transitioning period, or we are actually exiting that transitioning period to another extremism?
I feel we are presently getting to another extreme. And
I do think so too.
we're gradually getting to another extreme. We have talked about morality. Morality has got to the extreme and is gradually slipping down. And now we are going to the extreme of anti-morality, if I can use that word.
Yeah.
So it's and of course after that period, when it gets to the extreme, something else will come that will interrogate that extremism. And
it's very hard to picture what's going to interrogate it, honestly, because I think it's downhill from here. Honestly, it's very hard to picture what could counter immoral extremism. It's very difficult because it's the case of I've tasted something and I can't go back. You understand? Once you've tasted something, it's very hard for you to go back. I think that's the best analogy to describe.
Sometime, one of the things that reduces the influence of the extremism is certain situation. And I want you to look at it this way. Do you believe that COVID-19 amplified certain vices we now have in Nigeria? They've been there, but it amplified it. It gave a lot of people time to...
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, the point I'm trying to make is certain events, certain things happen, and then they become the
new norm.
Not the new norm, but they become those events begin to shape or begin to transit or begin to transition the movement that used to something else. The movement that used to be to something else. So look at Second World War, for instance.
Yeah.
After Second World War, started talking about feminism. Even religion, the people started doubting religion in some ways. That was a wave. I don't know. I'm not speculating that something catastrophic will happen now, but I think there's always a big movement. It might not be something chaotic, but there's always a movement in whichever way it's going to start. It might be a religious revival, maybe. It might be a political revolution, maybe. It can be anything. And it can also be traditional, because I must say that I feel there's a rejuvenation of traditional practices, an intellectual rejuvenation of traditional practices.
Not a spiritual one, but an intellectual one.
No. Yeah. An intellectual one, not a spiritual one. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just
No. The spirituality of our traditional beliefs is gone, honestly. And I'm not saying this to be funny. It's just my honest assessment. No one is going back to worshiping Ogun and Shango and all those girls and goddesses.
So in essence, either of two things. If it's going to come from the side of religion, it might be in the form of revival. If it's going to come from the side of politics, it might probably be a political revolution. It's going to entertainment is a thing now. If it's going to come in terms of entertainment, I really don't know what it's going to likely to be. Yeah. But I also know that traditional institution, the gathering of the rejuvenation of traditional institutions is something that should not be taken for granted. because it's building up, and it's an intellectual thing, and intellectualism has the capacity to engage anything. I may be wrong, but
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
yeah.